Hello and welcome to our September edition 2021 of our Top Producers panel hosted by NSBAR. I'm Heather Rizzo. I'm managing broker of Worth Clark Realty, and I'm also serving as chair of the Young Professionals Network here at NSBAR. I'm going to be moderating today along with our lovely Shannon Johnson. Shannon is with Berkshire Hathaway, and she is also serving on the YPN committee with me. So thank you for being here, Shannon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Heather.
I want to take a minute just to thank our sponsors. We are so appreciative of the support that you give us here at NSBAR and YPN. We could not do this without you. The outreach to our membership and education, as well as our communities. And so we're so grateful. Thank you for all of your support. And so without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and introduce, in no particular order, our panelists. We're so excited you guys are all here today. Thank you for being here. We're going to start off with Mr. Joe Gattone. Joe's been a realtor for 8 years. He's been a part of 3 different brokerages, including his current, which is Compass in Libertyville. He ranks within the top 5% of NSBAR agents for volume and transactions several years running, and used to serve on the advisory board of the YPN with me. He has over 75 million sold with 150 plus transactions, with a strong focus on social media and referral business, and recently started the Joe Gattone team consisting of 4 agents, including himself. He currently resides in Libertyville with his amazing wife and 2 kids, Joey and Juliana. Thank you for being here, Joe.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited.
Today, we also have Laura Fitzpatrick. So she comes to us from At Properties in Winnetka. She's been there since 2009 and is considered a top agent on the North Shore. Laura is consistently an impressive performer. She has achieved countless accolades through the duration of her career. She earned the title of Who's Who by Chicago Magazine, and the North Shore-Barrington Association of Realtors has recognized her as a top agent for sales as recently as 2020, and she is trending 2021 to be right there again. Additionally, she was also a recipient of the Road to Rolex Award given to brokers that achieve over $10 million in annual sales. You can also find Laura volunteering her time at her daughter's school or her church. She is a leader of Guild 3 of the Women's Club, a supporter of the Alliance for Early Childhood, Nutria Food Pantry, and other local causes. So thank you so much for joining us, Laura.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, our next panelist we have is Luigi Corral. Luigi is a broker owner at Remax American Dream in Lake Zurich. He's an award-winning real estate broker with a demonstrated history of working in the real estate industry. Strong business development, professional skills in negotiation, sales, listing, digital marketing, international and domestic relocation, commercial real estate, and property management. He's also a past president of NAREP and in the top 250 in the USA for NAREP. He speaks English, Spanish, and Portuguese, and he's currently the director for NSBAR and MLS. Thank you for being here, Luigi.
A pleasure. Thank you for having me here today.
And our last panelist today is Katrina De Los Rios. She was born to entrepreneurial parents who inspired her own career as an entrepreneur and helped her understand the importance of the customer experience. Katrina began her early real estate career in 2003. And in 2010, she teamed up with her husband officially. And she and George now have a team together where they lead and mentor, support a team of 4 other agents who use their specific gifts and skills to support their careers as they move forward. Katrina and her team consistently sell $25 million annually and recently broke their personal goal of over $30 million in annual sales. They are now on their way to closing out their best year yet. So congratulations, Katrina, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, well, let's get into it. The whole reason we're here is we really want to pick your brains. So I have an array of questions here, and let's just get started. So really helping out our membership, our newer agents, it's kind of a good thing to know, going back to the beginning of your career. What led you to real estate and how did you get started? And what was the best thing you think you did that led you on the path to success?
So I'll jump in on this one if I can. So what led me into real estate was kind of weird. It was kind of random. It wasn't on my radar. I had gotten let go from a previous job in inside sales management. And as I was looking for new jobs, people are asking things like, oh, have you found a job? And on 3 separate occasions, someone was like, have you ever thought about real estate? And the first time I was like, no, I've never thought about that before. And then the second time somebody asked, I was like, that's funny. Somebody else said that. And then the third time was actually my father-in-law. And I was like, that's weird. Like, people keep telling me to do this, so maybe I should check it out. So I ended up, calling the real estate agent that we used to buy our first house and asked him, what's the deal? How does this work? Obviously I've been on showings with you, but what do you think? Like, are you and your brother going to be in this for a while? Would you take me under your wing? Would you help me get started, kind of thing? Do you think I'd be good at it? And he was like, yeah, I think you'd be great at it. Let's go. So that's kind of how I got into it. Was there a second part to that question?
Yeah, really, was there something then early in your career that you felt like you did well that led you towards a success?
Yeah, I think so in the beginning for me, I think I'm looking back now, hindsight, it was really helpful that I had some leads to work. The brokerage that I joined, they weren't the greatest leads, but it was something. And so they were getting a lot of people who were just giving their emails and their phone numbers every once in a while. And so we had a list of people that nobody was calling, nobody was working. They were old, 2-3 years old, all the way up to current potentially. And he was letting me kind of use that list how I wanted to. And so I was able to figure out a way to email merge people. And I had my own backend system that I was creating through Excel. It wasn't very, user-friendly or organized like we have now with a lot of these CRMs on the back end. But that was really, really helpful. If I didn't have that, it would have been a lot harder, I think, in the beginning, the first couple of years.
I think that's a really good lesson for new agents to work. You got to work every lead that you get from every direction. And yeah, I remember working leads that were like from a pile in the back of the office that weren't going to work out, but I still tried.
It's kind of what I wanted because, again, I was coming from an inside sales job. So that was like dial the phone, working backwards. You're going to dial 100 times. You're going to get 10 people on the phone. You're going to get 5 appointments. You're going to get 1 deal. Right. So it's like, I was like, just give me something to call and I'll try to, help these people out. So yeah, I think that's pretty helpful. And I didn't have to do a lot of like the open house stuff and door knocking and mailing letters and things like that, which is another way I think you could probably get your name out there. But now it's all social media for me, but I'm sure we'll get to that later.
Thanks.
So how do you set yourself apart from other agents in your marketing, listing presentations, and your overall services that you offered? And along those lines, what would you say to a seller or a buyer to encourage them to choose you over another agent?
I would say that the most important thing is to follow up and follow through with what you say you're going to do. A lot of times you'll hear from clients that they met an agent and they never heard from them again, or an agent came out, but they never really quite gave them a price that they understood. And to me, I think sometimes people can overthink the process. And when you really just boil it down to the 2 things that people want to know, which are how much is my house worth, and how long is it going to take you to sell it? I have a 2-step process where I meet with clients first. I walk their home. I hear them give me the tour through their eyes. I hear about all of the things that they've done, all the things that they love about the home, the things they would change about the home if they could. And then I spend a few days reviewing the comps and market data and looking at the overall snapshot of their neighborhood, but also from a buyer perspective. So many times when I'm talking to sellers, I will explain to them, there's a seller's perspective and then there's a buyer's perspective. And I think sometimes when the seller understands the buyer's perspective, it helps with things like staging and what are they looking for in terms of, do you need to have a white kitchen and should you declutter and how should my house look to prepare it for sale? And giving them that perspective really helps them, because a lot of them are also looking at real estate photos online. And so they know what their house really should look like when it's time to take the photos.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's so important that we listen to the client. I think that's a great point you made.
Okay, we have our next question here. Those of you that have started a successful real estate team, how do you build a team? Should you start with an assistant? Should you start with a buyer's agent? And how do you know if you're ready to start a team?
Oh, I'll take this one. I think the most important part of the first thing to do is set up an assistant. The assistant will do essential time-consuming functions that you need for you to perform at a higher level. Making appointments, organize your showings, managing your calendar, showing reports, feedbacks for your listings, coordinate your transactions, follow up with inspections, earnest money instructions, communicate with the attorneys, city requirements, appraisals, FOIA requests, utilities, schedule final walkthroughs, maintain your database, help you reading emails, all those things that we don't like to do, right? We need to concentrate on what we do best, which is sell. This is what makes us the most money. So assistant is number one. Now, buyer's agents will be necessary depending on the amount of number of leads that you have, buyers versus sellers. If you have a lot of buyers, you will need a buyer's agent right away. But if your deal is listings, if you're lucky to have listings in your inventory being most of your leads, then you don't need a buyer's agent. But a buyer's agent is necessary when in a market like this, that there's a lot more buyers than sellers, you will utilize a buyer's agent for your team.
I'll chime in on this too. I just started a team, and I think there's a lot of different ways to do it. I know at the other brokerage I was working with, like some people it's just 2-person team, and they don't have an assistant sometimes, not saying Luigi's wrong at all. I just, like, for me, I don't have an assistant. I can't really probably could afford to do it, but it's just a big chunk of money that I'm not willing to throw at that yet. And so I think if you're tight on budget, which is how I was looking at it, like, okay, I don't want to just shell out some salary to somebody when I'm perfectly capable of doing those things right now. I think there's a lot of different ways to work it with different splits that you can offer agents. The way your brokerage works with splits, I mean, it gets a little bit dicey without getting into specifics. I can't really do that, but there's a way maybe you can outsource what you're making and pay the agents that you have on your team a little bit less than that. Maybe they don't want to work for that little, right? And so that's like this hard open market thing you have to figure out. But I think if you can't really do the assistant thing, which I'm getting there, like I would like to get to that point where I do have an assistant who's helping, multiple agents on my team. The way I've started it is basically just outsourcing my split and trying to help people come over. And Compass is very, as far as the brokerage, they're a great brokerage for agents, but they're pretty selective on who they're trying to bring over sometimes. And so they won't really take brand new agents. And so for me, I have an advantage there where I can say, look, there's no way you could get to Compass without me because you're new. So, check out other brokerages or whatever. But if you like what Compass has to offer, then you can come on my team and work with me, and I'll help you out without holding anything back and see how it goes,
So for me, the trick was to save a little bit of money, like put some money aside, 6 months of assisting money, and then start one. That's how I did it. And I understand what you're going through because that's what everybody goes through.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree 100% with Luigi, and I see where you're going, Joe, because that's where I was at one point too. And when I see successful agents going solo and they're exasperated because they're tired. And, they're working 7 days a week, in crazy markets. Like, you just need someone to do your transaction sheets. You just need someone to complete your MLS inputs, just get an assistant in that way, maybe baby steps, because that's how we started our team. I knew I needed help with our database. You have to clean up your database consistently, right?
Yep.
To reach people. And it was like a cry for help. And as soon as we got our first person to join our team, I'm like, wow, I wish I did this sooner. Now I have more time for lunches with my clients, more time to do better research and marketing for my clients. So you're right. We could do it all different ways, but I did it alone for a long time, and it could be a lonely business and also a very busy business.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome information. Also thinking that there are a lot of different ways to kind of start that. I think for sure, one thing that I've learned along the way is that I guess agents that are really good with people and good at selling, are not good with the admin and the paperwork. And that's not like, that's the downfall, right? So that is the dream, to like get the assistant going, but thank you.
So think back to when you were a brand new agent. If you could do it all over again, where would you start? What can you do to get your first few clients? And how do you convey that you're qualified when you really have little to no experience?
That's actually a very, very common question by agents. Can I take that, Shannon? I have some.
Absolutely.
I see a lot of new agents come into the business and they're overwhelmed. They don't know where to begin. And when I was a brand new agent, I listened to my managing broker 100% because I didn't know what I didn't know. She told me, put your sphere together. I did. If she asked me a question, how much do you want to make? I told her. She said, follow this worksheet, and I did. and I just trusted that process. So, as a brand new agent, and we tell our new agents the same thing, it's who do you know, and organize that. And what do you want to do in this business volume wise? What's important to you? How do you want to live your life? Write that down. And then, be honest about what your schedule is going to look like every week. People coming into this business or even thinking about the business think it's all about flexibility, which might mean beach time,
Golf,
a lot of rest, a lot of golf, a lot of, waking up late. But being new means you're waking up early, with your new business and setting a schedule every single day and committing to a certain number of hours every single day, working on your database, learning the systems, learning the market, networking with other agents, learning from those who know how to do it, and that's what I would recommend. Really being honest about where you put your time, because that's where you're going to get it out, and you're going to get it out with who you know, because it's a people business.
That's great. Scheduling. Does anybody use time blocking, that magic word?
1,000%, including the 4 vacations a year.
Oh man, I'm not good at that. I'm not good at that.
You have to.
I do encourage my agents or our team very much to schedule time off, because you see it 6 weeks down the road and you're excited and you're like, yes, hurry up, hurry up and do your work and then go away.
Right.
And it seems to work. And, and being new and with that, wondering, I'm going to meet someone. I don't really, how do I express that, I'm not really experienced, but why would they choose me? Like, if you're on a team, you're on the team. We have the experience. If you're with an amazing company, we've got the tools and the resources. You have an amazing company. That's your backup.
I'm going to add to that too, because I'm just thinking about it. I think, there's a lot of things that I don't think I realized. And I think this is going back to another question, like what sets you apart? There's a lot of things throughout my life that I've done that I I don't know, some people, I was dabbling in graphic design a little bit when I was in high school and early college, and I never actually pursued that, but I know how to use Photoshop. And so like, this isn't going to set me apart a big deal, but just as an example, like I can make the sky blue. I don't need to pay the photography company to do that. I don't need to wait for them to do that. I can do it myself really quickly, really easily, which has come in handy quite a bit. But at the same time, like there's a lot of other things, not just that, that I've gone through in my life, experiences that I've gone through other than real estate that have helped me in real estate. And so I think as a new agent, or any agent trying to set yourself apart. The question was new agents when you don't have any business, like what do you do? Well, I think you probably have some stuff in your arsenal that you may not realize from your past life, your other jobs. What are you good at in general? And that's going to, manifest itself in the real estate world. You might be more type A and very organized. And so that's going to help you stay on top of following up with your clients and making sure you don't miss deadlines for whatever it is. So I don't know, maybe look at yourself inward and kind of look at what are you good at? What do you have? And how do I twist that into, selling myself at a listing presentation or with buyers or whatever?
I see a lot of agents really do that very well, who are new and taking what they're good at and translating that and conveying that to clients. I think that's really important.
Sometimes they don't even know it. Like they're really good at something and they don't understand. Like you were saying before, you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. And I'm still learning that too. Like I'm still learning what I'm good at. And I'm like, wow, this is something that I learned a long time ago, but I think that's manifesting itself now in my business. And that's why people want to work with me.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. I want to switch gears just a little bit onto social media. Some of you have great media presence. We want to know, how did you create that? What platforms do you recommend that work best? And can you possibly walk us through like your typical day or your process of posting? And then I guess another part of that question is, if you're an agent that's not good at social media or has no idea what you're doing or where to start, should you hire somebody or should you just like try to learn it?
I feel like I'm doing a lot of talking, but I feel like I can jump in on this one. So, so how did I create my social presence? So, and then like what platforms? Those are the two I heard. So I stumbled on Gary Vee. I know he's a big name for some people. You might know him. I stumbled on him just from consuming stuff, social media. And a lot of what he says can be annoying. Like take everything with a grain of salt. I'm not a Gary Vee worshiper, but I did consume a lot of his content for a long time. And he really preaches, document what you do. Like stop being so fancy. And I think this was back when Instagram was a little bit newer to most. Now it's pretty prevalent to everybody, but he's like, stop being so fancy. Because what happens is you get paralyzed where you're trying to take the perfect selfie and it takes 15 shots. And then you actually have to go do what you were doing for actual work or whatever. And then you didn't actually get the selfie that you wanted. So you never posted it or whatever you're trying to do. And so he's like, just document what you're doing. Just document that you're working. Take a selfie when you're up at 10 o'clock at night. Wake up early and do work and then take another selfie and then explain what you're seeing with your clients. And so he was very on the documentation side of things. And so I really took that to heart. And that's how I kind of started. And then the Instagram story made that so easy. So my go-to platform is still Instagram, but man, every platform has like a way to work it. So I would say like on Twitter, it's got to be a little bit more sarcastic. You got to find what the trending hashtags are. People are looking at news for Twitter, right? So you don't want to just, if you're going to try to work Twitter, like you got to figure out which hashtags you're trying to use and try to get into the news, into the trending news. And I'm not an expert on Twitter, but there's ways to work Twitter. And Instagram, same thing. Like you can try to follow certain profiles, follow your town's hashtag. I don't know if you know that, but like every hashtag has its own profile. So you can follow hashtag Libertyville or hashtag Winnetka or whatever. And anytime somebody hashtags Winnetka, it'll show up on your feed. So there's like ways to work every single platform. And I think you just got to figure out which one works best for you. I'll shut up for a second, but that's kind of what I did. I just document what I do when I'm working and give my 2 cents where I can.
I think you have to be where your people are. But I think you have to be out there, period.
I agree.
So if you're good at that, I think that's amazing. How long have you had your IG, your Instagram, Joe?
So I got into real estate in 2013, had a Facebook page like pretty much right away, but I didn't post anything on there. I didn't know what to post. I was new. I didn't have any closings, right? And everyone's always posting like open house and new listing and just closed. And I didn't have any of that. So I realized early on that I had to sort of change people's perception of what I was. I was a nice guy, but I don't think they wanted to trust me with their transaction for real estate, with their house, their most expensive thing. And so I had to change the perception that I did know what I was talking about. And I am good at what I'm doing now. And it took some time, but I started writing a blog. I started writing articles about things that I thought a little bit differently on, like open houses sell your agent, they don't sell your house, right? And it's kind of like this, whoa, like, wait, what? And so I was trying to like be a little different on that kind of stuff, think differently, and then write about it. And then I would share it on Facebook and my business page and my personal. But IG, I didn't jump into IG until like, and I want to say end of 2015 and then early 2016 is when I really started posting. That's when I joined Berkshire Hathaway, moving from a small brokerage to a larger brokerage. And then they came out with the IG stories like late 2016. And that was amazing for documentation because obviously it disappears after 24 hours. So
Right.
I didn't have to be as fancy, even though I was trying not to be fancy per Gary V's instructions. Like it's still hard. Like everyone's posting these beautiful pictures and I'm like sending out mailers, selfie, like not very fancy. But then the story came out. So it was awesome to like grow as the story evolved and they added more things you could do there. I was right on top of it. So I think I just caught that wave. It was just good timing with the Instagram stories. And I already had a bunch of friends following me and things like that. So I think that's how it worked out for me, at least.
Yeah.
And you always want to be in front of people, out of sight, out of mind, as they say. I think for us, it's very important that,
Right.
I think the key is too with social media is it gives people really like a glimpse into who you are. Like you're not just trying to sell real estate, like you're a person too, and you're dropping your kids off for their first day of school and you're juggling all the challenges of being a working parent and, where's the backpack and the new shoes for school and like I'm renovating a house that I bought and, every time I turn around, I learn something new about that. And so, it's just being authentic, I think sets you apart from other realtors and it's more interesting than just listed, just sold. Oh, look at this big fancy house on Sheridan Road. Everybody loves those homes, but people really are interested when you say, something like, oh, I'm renovating, I'm doing this project and, I got 3 bids and I found this amazing person to do it and it's half the cost I thought it would be. And, that really gets people to engage. And I think that's where Instagram is really fun with the stories because, it never gets old. The story disappears after about a day. So your content never gets old.
Very true.
So good. I do want to ask one more question about that. If anybody, maybe Joe, I don't know, have you guys played around with TikTok at all? Because I've seen some realtors do TikTok and I'm like, that's so cool. I want to do that. But
oh man. So TikTok and the Reels are big because Reels and TikTok will go out to more than just your followers. So I have to admit, I haven't jumped on the Reels as much as I should. And I need to do that. But I have dove into TikTok a little bit. TikTok's interface is amazing. It's really user friendly, and there's a lot of crazy things you can do. But you have to stay on the trends of TikTok too. It's very similar to Twitter. There's these trends, and they'll fly right by you. Where you're like, oh, I got to do a video like that. And you have to be creative. And so I'm like, how do I make this about real estate? That would be funny. And then you have to do like a costume change. And so I'm like, dude, I don't have time to do I don't have time. I'm like, honey, watch the kids for like an hour. I have to make a TikTok. Like it's kind of goofy. But yeah, I got to jump in there because then another trend will start to take, a wave and you're like, oh, that's another good one. And so I'm like saving all these videos and all these sounds that I need to like do TikToks for. And then I never actually do them. So
do it quick.
It's hard.
Just do it.
I know. I have to just do it. Yeah.
This is your cue to do it. Okay.
Micro speed.
I mean, it's, if you follow Gary V, I'm a fan too. It's all about the, we put a couple of reels out there and they got they did get the most views and they were fun to make. I won't do a TikTok for real estate specifically, but I have 2 teenagers. So, I mean, and it's the same, you make a TikTok the same way you make a reel.
Mhm.
And I watch, I am on TikTok a lot, and my girls show me a ton of real estate related TikToks, and they're like, you should do this. I'm like, that is really cool. But I won't do the whole thing like this. That's not my audience. This thing, that's not
I don't know what you're doing.
my audience. Doesn't
Yeah.
want this. You know, my audience want, yeah.
Yeah.
You'll see, Joe.
Okay, I'll find it tonight probably.
Okay. All right.
I love
What
it.
I mean. All right.
Oh, that was a great discussion.
I have one more question about that. Are you guys still doing lives? Facebook lives or Instagram lives?
I have not gone live in a long time.
I do stories.
Let's change that. Let's go live.
The lives are good for notifications. I don't know if they're still doing that anymore, but it used to be when you go live, everyone who's following you would get like a notification on their phone that's like, Joe Gattone is live.
Right.
Tune into his live video or whatever. So I don't know if they're still doing that, but yeah, it started to turn into reels and less live videos, but
Y'all didn't know you were going to get an assignment when you tuned in today, right?
wait, now I got to be on TikTok.
I'll do a live. Check
Okay,
out
fine.
So moving on to a new subject, real estate is a people business coupled with a lot of important obligations. How do you balance being professional versus being personal? And where's that line, or is there one?
I personally do not think there is really much of a line between professional and personal, because I really feel like this is a people business, and our business is based on our relationship with people. And so, you know, although you don't always have to be talking real estate, you don't always have to be pushing homes on people. I think, you know, the more people that you meet socially through, you know, various avenues like your kid's school or volunteering for something, or just being a neighbor, you meet people, and through meeting people, it can then quickly turn professional, where they're asking you, you know, what's the market doing? How are things going? Hey, what did that house down the block sell for? And it all kind of blends together. And I think that's how you build your sphere, is by talking to people, meeting people, being social, being out there. So, you know, there's boundaries. I think it's important to have boundaries with, you know, your personal life, but in general, I think this is a people business.
Definitely. I agree with you.
I agree.
1,000%, Laura.
I thought that was just a really good question for realtors, because, you know, and it is like, that's a good question. And, you know, when you're meeting your sphere or with your people, I guess, you know, if you walk into a listing interview and you don't know those people, and you're going up against other agents, and you're like, this is me, you know, you read, there are certain articles where they say, now don't be too smiley, or don't be, you know, don't be too funny, or don't be too much of yourself, like who you really, make sure you know. So I think it is a good thing to think about for us, but at the end of the day, it's a people business,
Definitely.
you know, and a lot of times they'll choose to work with you because of who you are, as long as you know what you're doing, right?
Sometimes not.
Try.
Yeah.
Okay, so switching gears now, I'm actually talking kind of about our sphere again. What are your tips on staying in touch with your sphere? How do you approach friends and family and acquaintances without sounding like you're too pushy or just want their business? And again, it's great when you're building your sphere, people know for years that you're a realtor, but if you're just starting, you know, and like Katrina was saying, you know, her managing broker says, contact everybody you know, tell me a realtor, ask for their business. How do you do that?
Let me get that before Joe's gets it.
I'm excited. I want to hear this.
So I'm actually good at this. This is something I'm really good at it. I merge my lifestyle with real estate. So, you know, one of the things that I did, you know, now I live in, you know, a very nice neighborhood, of course, trying to live in the bigger house that you can afford. But I throw a lot of parties. Every week, I invite people to my house. I need people that maybe a couple that I know, maybe a couple that they know, but I don't really know them. And I invite them every week. So faithfully, every week I invite new people. And, every 2 weeks, I throw parties, or a big party, in summertime, a couple big ones. And also, for example, now let's think about summer, right? I do water sports. So I own a boat. So I invite people to my boat, right? New people. Right. So my friends, and then I invite new people, and people get to know me, right? Oh, I went with boating with Luigi, and that's what people get to know. And I also organize groups like, I have a bike group. I go biking, a couple times a week. I play soccer on Mondays, and during the winter time, I ski and I snowboard. So I invite people, create groups, we travel and do that. So my lifestyle, blending my lifestyle with my friends, with my sphere. I don't need to tell them I do real estate. They know I do real estate. They follow me on Instagram, as Joe was saying. They follow me. But I'm organizing. When my kids were little, they're going to soccer classes and travel games, and I was organizing the barbecues. I was organizing the after parties. I was the one organizing all that. But all that converted into sales, because now those people are my friends, right? Or people that I know close, more close. And of course, a lot of deals, a lot of referrals come through that. And I think that's my prime sphere. My prime clients will come from my sphere. And that's the people that I want to deal personally myself. So those are the tips that I can share with you guys.
That's
awesome.
great, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that.
Luigi, do you ever throw just client parties like after a closing or once a year for clients, or is it you just
So no, I don't do that, and I tell you why. Is because my clients, they're all different. So they're people with different social lives, different cultures, different everything. So I can't really merge everybody into one. They're high end, low end. There's all that. So the ones that I do is the ones that live in my sphere, the ones that are my friends and clients all together. Yes, I party with them, and I do, but it's almost like they're almost not my clients anymore. It's almost like my friends, It's almost like that. So, but I keep in touch with other clients. I categorize them in clients A, B, and C, and I do send presents and cars and all that. That is very important to be in touch with your sphere, especially when you start getting referrals, right? I'm very good at sending, a thank you letter, or some chocolates or a gift card or something for people that send you referrals. They love that, and they become your sales force outside as well.
Right.
One more follow-up question, how often are you actually sending things to them? Like, do you have a schedule, like you send them like the bear schedule, or
right
calendar?
So it depends of the classification of that client, right? If it's an A client, I'm gonna do a lot more, right? I'm gonna do like more expensive presents. I'm gonna do customized things for them, because they might be my friends as well. And I have a different schedule for those. But for other clients that just normal clients that keep in touch, or people that my team has sold, a couple times a year. Holidays are very, very good with starting a new season, and also on Facebook. Or also you can do mass text messages as well. I've been substituting some of the presents with some messages or some automated videos and so forth, and it's working out.
Awesome. Thank you.
So several of you have teams that you work with. Katrina, you specifically partner with your husband. Can you share a little bit about the structure of your business together, and what your goals are for the future, and what are your tips for a really successful partnership?
Ooh,
Wow.
yeah, tips. You guys message me and then I'll announce the tips.
I want to hear that.
I think I wrote down your tips, Luigi. So yes, George and I partnered right after the crash. It was, 2010 is when he went full on, stopped practicing law and said, hello, I'm here full time. I said, great. And he got his license because when we started our family, you know, because he had his law degree, he could easily get his license and help me. And gosh, so tips for successful partnership and our goals and how we're structured. I guess George and I, you know, I was taught, don't work with family, be very careful, but we know our strengths and weaknesses. And I think we respect that of each other, and we know where we each want to grow. And so even before we started adding team members, George and I would meet, you know, and not meet, hello, we're married. We talk about our goals all the time. You know, what do we want for our kids? What do we want for a vacation? You know, where do we see ourselves? So that's, you know, being in line with what we want for each other and ourselves. And that translated nicely to our team because we asked our team the same thing. We ask them a couple times a year. You know, we have quarterly reviews. At the end of the year, we say, you know, what do you want for next year? You know, what about your family? What about your personal life? So in structuring our team, we've learned, you know, since we added our first agent, Celine, 6 years ago, we learned what she's really good at. We learned what George is really good at. You know, I know what I like to do. And that's why George and I don't share clients like Luigi, Joe, Laura. This is a people business. You know, this is a relationship. And why would I jump in if everything's going well with George? That's their relationship. I can get introduced later. I'm his wife, right? And you know, I just met one of his clients. We had an ice cream social 2 days ago, and I just met one of his clients who became his friends for the first time after 3 years. So in structuring our team, that's what we do. We learn what you're really good at. One, Jeannie ran her business for 20 years. I know she has her database. She knows how to manage her time. She knows how to make connections, and she's a natural, you know, like you guys are in your relationships. She knows how to grow her business. And so that's how we structured it. We didn't ask for a buyer's agent or a seller's agent, you know, or we don't buy leads where we need to divvy it up. Our team, and how we've been structured is we grow our business organically through our relationships, making sure that we give the best service and that we're learning every day. So if you're talking about social media, video platforms, systems, we want to know every day that we're getting better so that we can work more efficiently and so we can enjoy our lives. You know, we enjoy what we do, and I can see that you guys do too. So does that help?
It does. I love something that you said, Katrina, that I really love is that you sit down and do quarterly reviews. You treat it like a real business.
Definitely.
But in that review, you talk about what are your goals, both professionally and personally.
Always.
And I think that creates a team that's going to be really committed to you and your goals as a whole, and not just self-sufficient.
Right.
So I think that's a great piece of that.
It's working so far.
That's the key.
Okay, so we literally, you know, this has happened before where we don't get through half the questions because the conversation is so good. I feel like this could go on for 2 hours. We do have another 5 to 10 minutes. And so I want to ask our final question. And I love this question because everywhere you go, and we've done so, you know, much conversation today about your sphere and parties and just going to barbecues and talking. And what does everybody ask you when they know you're a realtor? What's going on in the market? It's crazy. What's happening? So my question to each of you, I'd love for everybody to chime in on this. What do you see happening in the rest of the market for 2021? What do you think might happen in 2022? What's happening right now? Go.
I'm optimistic. We sell a lot in the North Shore, Evanston, you know, Warren Grove, Skokie, Glenview, Wilmette. And we focus a lot too in downtown. So Streeterville, River North, West Loop, Gold Coast. And, the city's condo market's great. And if these interest rates remain low, which I think they will, and, as we recover from COVID, hopefully, with this Delta variant, hopefully with more people getting vaccinated, we should have another good year. I mean, we exploded this year just because of pent-up demand as far as our markets are concerned. And with rates being so incredibly low, but I think it's going to be a very, very good year.
Yeah, I agree. Go ahead, Luigi.
No, I also agree with that. And also I think the people that don't have a work and they maybe losing their home to foreclosure and all that, I think banks learned the lesson and they are modifying their mortgages to make it even cheaper than rent. Because let's say people are losing their home today, they'll go somewhere else. But in the bubble, when we have this crash, it wasn't worth it to keep their home, but today it is. If they lower their mortgage and modify their payments, it's cheaper than rent. People staying. So I think banks learned the lesson and they know how to make not to let people go to foreclosure. We'll say.
So I was going to say there's a combination of things I think that are leading to I'm very optimistic too. I think it's going to continue to rise. I don't think it's going to be as crazy as it's been the past 2 years, but I think it'll continue to kind of gradually go up. It's interesting. We haven't seen a regular real estate market since I've been in real estate, right? Like my whole childhood and, anyone who's a lot older than me, I'm sure as they were growing in their adult life, it's like real estate's the best investment. It'll always go up. Right. And then 2008 totally crashed. And that was my young adult life. So it's okay, 2008, really now we're all jaded, right? Okay, be careful. Don't pay too much for a house. It might not go up, but it should have just been on a gradual. I'm reversed here on Zillow or on Zoom. So it should be a gradual increase. So I don't know. We don't really know what it looks like yet, right? We had this weird sink from 2008 to 2012. And then it was okay, now we can all buy. And it's kind of been rising. And then I think it kind of leveled off. And then this Corona thing happened. And I don't know, until the economy changes, which it might, inflation might happen, more jobs may be lost. But from what I was seeing last year, and again, I want to be as sensitive as I can when I say this, I know there are people who've lost their jobs from the numbers, but for a lot of homeowners, potential buyers and home sellers, I don't think a lot of things changed for the negative. I think everybody was able to, not everybody, but a lot of people were able to keep their jobs and they were able to. There were challenges, obviously, but nothing changed for them economically where their salaries dipped or whatever. I mean, people who are in the service industry obviously got hit. I think lower level jobs where people are, we got to cut some things. Yes. But a lot of people's businesses were still fine and they were still working and they were still making money, a case in point with all of the transactions that happened last year and this year. So I think that's until that changes, I think we'll be okay. And I think it'll continue to go up gradually. And I think there's still people who want to wait. I've talked to people who want to wait. I don't know if you guys heard people were well, we're going to wait till the market cools off.
I heard that earlier in the year.
There's a long list of people trying to rent right now. And it seems like that's why.
And to own.
I don't know. It's
rent.
okay, you want to wait. So does the guy next to you, so do all these tenants. It's they're all going to buy at some point. So I think at some point, a lot of these millennials, the younger millennials now have been sitting on cash. A lot of people have been sitting on equity. So there's a lot of money and safety within the real estate world. No matter what side of the aisle you're on, you're either sitting on equity because you've had a house for 7 years, or you've been working for 10 years and you're 30 years old and you have money and you want to get out of the city now or living with mom and dad, whatever. And so now you can go buy something. So I think everybody on both sides of the aisle is feeling comfortable with their real estate scenario, and it's just going to keep moving houses.
There's one more factor also is that the fact that people are working from home now, and a lot of these employers, they're not coming back 100%. So we're losing here in the Chicagoland some of these people that are moving to warmer states.
Mm-hmm.
Now they can work from home, and people that were at the city now that can work from home. That small apartment is not making it anymore and coming to the suburbs. And the people that are in the suburbs that had kids already or they're empty nesters, they were supposed to downsize. Now they're not, because now they need their house to work. So we do have some more factors that are into this, and we don't know. We can't really predict what is going to happen, because with the pandemic going on, we still don't know how the politics of different employers and big companies will affect people how they work, right? I think we just fast forward life for another 10 years. We fast forward, we brought the future, because that's where we were going anyways, right? Zoom and all that. I mean, and I think it's important for us to try to analyze and see the trends and trying to be on top of the market and see. I see already some of the areas that are slowing down, and some other areas that are still very hot. Like townhouses in the suburbs, they're not that hot anymore. It's harder to sell than a single family house with a basement. Those are like, everybody wants them, So important to follow up with what is going on out there with employers and the way people work and the way people migrate to different parts of the country.
I think COVID taught people to shift their priorities and what they're looking for in a home, and that maybe they will be staying longer than 3 years. And, maybe they don't have the family to fit the house yet, but they're definitely buying more space than they need. And I think it's a great opportunity for us agents right now to really set ourselves apart from other agents and grow our business in this market, because it's an important time to be creative. I work a lot on the North Shore, New Trier area, and there's just a shortage of inventory. And, it's a good time to just be creative, talk to your neighbors, send out market data. When sellers start seeing what their neighbors' houses are selling for, then they suddenly want to sell, because they realize the market is great. When am I ever going to see these prices again? And so, we need more inventory, and we need to get people moving.
Right, and inventory is a problem, because if people we helping people buy whatever is there out there, tomorrow when that house is going to be hard to sell, then you were the one who sold them that house. So as a new agent, for new agents, it's important that they understand how the bad things about homes, the location and things that in the future will prevent that house to be sold, because anything is easier to sell today, right? It's easy to buy as well. So it's important for agents to learn that in the future as well. These guys told me this house, they can't sell it anymore because as this and that, he didn't tell me these things were bad. So for the new agents, they need to understand that this is a cycle also, and they need to educate themselves, in a better way. Going to classes here in NSBAR, we have fantastic classes for agents that they need to instruct themselves and educate themselves so they can provide a better service for the clients for the future. You don't want to be, the 87% of agents that don't last 5 years, right? You want to be the 13 that stayed here for 5 years, right?
You have to be honest with people. And if a house is on a busy street, it's always going to be on a busy street. So you have to be objective of, if they get a job transfer in a year, which we've seen, how are they going to resell this house? So I think it's just important to be honest with people and inform them, okay, here are the pros, here are the cons about this house. I think that's why buyers are also a little bit hesitant right now about getting caught up in multiple offers, because they know that they're going to be paying up in this market, and will they ever see that price again?
And I think that they will see the price again. When you're on a busy road or train tracks or whatever, it's all about the starting point as far as price goes, because someone will buy it at some point. You know what I mean? At some price point, it'll sell. So it's always got to be cheaper than the one next to it that's not with the negative thing. But yeah, I think it'll continue to go up, because what you just said, Laura, like, buyers they're not making stupid decisions, in my opinion. They might be paying a little more than they thought they were paying last year or the year before, but they're not going to go crazy over asking price, right? And there are houses that are sitting because they're overpriced and they need too much work to give someone that comfort that they can put the money in, if they even have the money to put in, and still have equity. And so I think I think people are still, like, they're paying more. Don't get me wrong. And things were pretty crazy beginning of this year and end of last, but I think I don't think that they're making bad decisions. I think that they're still paying a fair price, what they need to pay to get this house. And I think it'll gradually go up. I think it'll still continue to go up unless something changes, unless we see some crazy sort of like, I don't know, some sort of economic disaster that changes everybody's financial scenario. But right now, I think everyone's finances are okay. And they've been okay for a year and a half, if not better. There's some people that have been better off than they would have been had they not lost their job or something. So it's an interesting time. I can't predict the future, but.
Well, we don't have a crystal ball. I do tell my clients when they ask me what they should do, I said, sell your house, make a lot of money, and live in a camper for 2 years. Okay, that's what you're supposed to do right now. Not everybody can do that, but that's what you're supposed to do. Okay,
Good luck finding a camper.
or
Yeah, right.
like those are just those are
Or a
overpriced
bike.
too.
Yeah.
Those
Car.
are Airbnbs that are twice the price.
All of a sudden, there's no cars, there's no bikes, there's no campers.
There's no rentals on the North Shore.
No,
None.
let's buy one.
Well, I just want to thank everybody so much for being here. We are out of time. It has been, once again, awesome conversations. We'd love to have each and every one of you back again. Before we leave, I do want to just say thank you one more time to our sponsors. We cannot do this without you, and we're just so appreciative of all of your support for us. So everybody have a great day, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Bye, thank you. See ya.